My wife happens to suffer with gout, and I wanted to see if that would help her. So we came down here, and I had an encounter with Sharry, and she was much more than I expected. She had a very special gift in picking up people's problems without the aid of computers and all this other fancy technology that has evolved to sort of express what she innately can do. She has a condition called synesthesia. Many people probably are not familiar with the word. Synesthesia is a form of functioning where your senses are mixed. In the normal person, she's not normal, she's super normal, but in the normal person, your sight, your hearing are separated. In synesthetics, the senses are blended together. So, for example, when she hears you talk, she sees colors and things of that sort. And so that gave her a unique way of perceiving what was happening with her. One of her earliest encounters with her gift was she was visiting for her own problem in the doctor's office, and there was a man who was being treated for hypertension, and when she heard him talking, she started humming a sound that brought down the blood pressure. So the doctor was so impressed that he had this repeated, and that's little by little, that's how she went off and tried to make sense of her talent. And as you know, her claim, well, not only claim, because I think at this point it's fairly validated, is that the human voice is a hologram of the human body. So according to her perception, the frequencies that are missing from your voice is what your body needs in order to reestablish the balance that a normal, healthy body should have. Health, in a sense, could be defined as when you're not aware of your body at all. When you start becoming aware of your body, any part of your body, it's your body telling you where the problem is. One of the things that impressed my wife when she came down with me, I had a condition since my young years. I had a type of shaking that's called intentional tremor. It's controlled by the cerebellum. I was a war baby, and during the war, my mother obviously didn't have access to the right foods, and so I had certain deficiencies of vitamins and so forth that led to this. But as a teenager, it was very embarrassing. Let's say I wanted to dance with the girl, and my hands would be shaking. I felt very calm inside. But the girl would say, well, what's wrong with you? How come your hands are shaking? You know? And that, of course, would make me shake even more. And after a while, it sort of pushed me away from the whole idea of even dancing. Well, anyway, when I was in medical school, I remember when the professor used me as a guinea pig, trying to figure out what I had. At that time, Freudian concepts were very prevalent, so the students were projecting all sorts of Freudian BS. You know, they had this or that in his youth, blah, blah, blah. But it turned out that I had a severe vitamin B1 and B6 deficiency, and when I took these in high amounts, the tremor dissipated to a very significant degree. But I still had it. Well, anyway, when Sharry picked up my notes and started playing the sound, my tremor went away. You notice my head is shaking a little bit. I'm not usually aware of it, but once you become aware of it, you'll be noticing it. Well, anyway, that is one of the things that is sort of part of this. And when I would play the sound for 10, 15 minutes, all of that would go away. And in normal medicine, there is no treatment. You know, it's one of these things you learn to live with it. And there are many, many problems in medicine of a functional nature where, well, you're told, listen, this is not going to kill you, just do the best you can. Or they'll give you pills, for example. Another form of tremor, this is not the type I have, but it's Parkinson's disease. There, they shake even when they're not trying to do something. Intentional tremor is when you stretch out your hand and you know, like you put a piece of paper in my hand, you would see a tremor. Well, in Parkinson's, they're shaking at rest, you know. Well, conditions like this, you know, usually you end up taking all sorts of drugs. And each drug, no matter what doctor you talk to, there are no safe drugs. Each drug carries a whole gamut of side effects, and you never know what side effects you're going to get when you take a particular drug. With Sharry's approach, frequently if you uncover the frequencies that are missing and supply them to the body, it will correct them. I'm sure you probably have interviewed Bob, who you know, currently is a co-worker here with Sharry. He was involved in a severe accident on a motorcycle, and he was mangled, and they gave him very little hope to just being able to walk. And he used to be very active in sports. He was an excellent tennis player. Well, he's back to doing all that because the medical end of it, they reached the end of the rope. They thought he was lucky just to be able to move around, you know. And now he's a totally normal human being. There's a physician I met here a couple of years ago. I don't remember his name now, but I'm sure you probably put him on film. He had MS. He went to the Mayo Clinic, went to top institutions in the United States. They reached the end of the rope, and you know, he knew that from the orthodox medical perspective, he was doomed. It was just a question of when this end would come. And he's now a totally normal, functioning human being, you know. And I've seen with my own eyes some remarkable cases here. Personally, well, I've had my share of illnesses. I've been brushed with the other side already a couple of times. I've had open heart surgery and have diabetes. One of the things that Sharry helped me with, I was 2.5 years ago, I was discovered to have a very malignant form of cancer, which is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. In fact, that brought me as close to the other side as I ever want to be. Not that I'm afraid of going, but I'd like to hang around for a little while more. But anyway, when they excised the tumor, I chose not to follow the traditional approaches because most of the cancer treatments you end up rapidly departing, and they bring a whole series of other problems. Now, there are some types of cancer in which I'm not trying to knock down my own profession, but there's also a lot of stuff that is not, well, they just don't have the means of dealing with it adequately. Unfortunately, many of the treatments used in cancer kill the rest of your healthy body, and you maybe survive your cancer, but you die of complications. In fact, a friend of mine that I worked with had the same cancer as I had and chose to go the other way, no longer with us. But as you see, I'm still sitting here and still able to interact in a normal way. And
that was Dr. Roman Sharry, and it shows along the side here some of the other programs that we have on Sound Health. Oh, I'm going to put pause on this. This one is about macular degeneration, but I wanted you to hear Dr. Sharry's because he's the one that had the idiopathic tremors with this. Now, how do we work and what do we do? We go through all of this and we look at the voice. Just like there's sour notes in a song, there can be sour notes in your voice. And we look at those notes in terms of math. Just like the note of A is 440, it's half of that 220, and so forth and so on. So as we begin looking at all of this, we look at what makes sense in your voice. And many of you know about this. Young men going through puberty, their voice changes in response to hormones. We're looking and doing the same thing. So as we look at the voice, and we do the research here on these computer programs, we find out that frequency is our new medicine. It's also an ancient mystery revealed. You can say your eyes look at something and it's cycles per second, up into the trillions of cycles per second. that frequency comes to the eyes, the brain changes it into electrical chemical energy, sends it to the brain, and the brain says, oh, I'm going to interpret that as visual input because it's in this frequency range. Well, the same thing with hearing. You hear about 20 cycles per second up to about 20,000 cycles per second. And so that goes into the ears from mechanical energy to electrical chemical energy, and the brain perceives it as auditory input. So color and sound and aroma and emotion, they're all just levels of frequency that we have studied. Because as all of these frequencies reach the brain, they're all sorted, routed, assigned interpretations. Where do I go? What do I go here? And that's one of the issues with Parkinson's disease. It's a cell signaling disease above everything else. I don't care if the cell signaling got messed up by getting hit in the head with boxing gloves like Muhammad Ali, or genetic like Dr. Sharky not having enough nutrients, or the wrong electrical impulse, or the wrong electrical lights, or not enough biochemicals, or some genetic issue. It's all based on frequency. Frequency is ... Frequency is forever. Now, I'm going to show a film here, a short one, because I think this is incredibly significant. And you will see that they are going to put a piece of paper, a colored gel, I think, in front of this man. And you'll see how his dyskinesia is ameliorated through looking through blue glasses, lenses, or a blue piece of paper. What he is doing is providing frequencies to his brain that his body couldn't make, couldn't assign, couldn't use. This is very revealing. He's putting on blue lenses. Once he took off the lenses, the effect was gone almost immediately. Now he's having to stare directly at this blue sheet of paper, and it has almost the same effect. When he puts it down, the effect is gone. It has to also be in close proximity to him. You see he's beginning to shake on his right arm there. What is she away? About 4 or 5 feet? I think this is an incredible demonstration that color, which is also a frequency, can ameliorate dyskinesia, which is, one of the forms of symptoms of Parkinson. What we can do is look at the vocal print, find the exact shade, not just the turquoise they're using, which happens to be one of the proteins that's Parkinson's related. We can look at your vocal print and get the exact frequency that's needed for you, and we can put it in your environment so that you are getting the frequency even while you are sleeping. So that's one of the things that the computer program does. The limitations to just color, they can't get it very specific. We can get it down to the hundredths of a degree in the exact hue that you need. Provide it in your environment so that even while you're sleeping, it can be working. Your vocal codes inside your language is an incredible matrix of math that tells us exactly what is going on in your body. And by looking at that matrix, and 2 and 2 is 7, we got a problem. So what we try to do is bring you back into coherence or harmony and make 2 and 2 4 again. We can artificially entrain your brain through looking at your language and through providing the frequencies back that are really designed to hit your skin. What happens and how this happens is conduit to the brain. You have something called a recurrent laryngeal nerve that controls your vocal cords. And when we can interfere, almost like entrainment, if you put 2 oscillators together in a room, then they will begin to oscillate together. You pluck a string on a piano, other strings will begin to vibrate. So we begin to vibrate the skin with the frequency that carries that frequency back to the nerves and then back to the brain. And at some place in your body, that information will get through and the tremors will stop. We look at this through the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, and that controls the pathways. Nikki, are you willing to talk about Miss Doris?
Sure.
Communicate.
Sure,
well,
sure.
Okay, would you go ahead?
Miss Doris was in her 80s, and she's one of my favorite people. I had to be careful around Miss Doris because I was so drawn to her. I was afraid I was sucking up all her energy when I was around her. She was an African-American woman. She was a mother of 13 children. Her husband died shortly after the birth of her 13th child. He was a doctor. She lived through segregation. She had her babies in the colored section of the hospital, and she had gone through so much. She wanted to share these stories. She wanted to write a memoir, and she wanted to write a novel, but she couldn't because her hands were shaking so badly. She didn't have enough control to do these things, and I knew the world needed her stories. So we saw Miss Doris. Sherry did most of the work. We looked over her chart. We gave her some frequencies to listen to. And the next day we were at church, and Miss Doris comes in, and she's walking towards us with her hands stretched out, steady as a rock. And she had tears in her eyes, and she promised that I would get the first copy of her memoir.
And in her case, it was B5, pantothenic acid. Her body just could not use pantothenic acid. No matter how much she had, the body couldn't use it. And that's one of the things that we can do. Help the brain express itself as language so that we can look at the math and tell, okay, that's the frequency of pantothenic acid, and provide it back to her so her brain does what it's supposed to do. This is a combination of ancient string theory, Pythagorean string theory, where we use harmonics. Even though they put this piece of greenish blue paper in front of this guy, the effects stopped almost immediately. Well, there are many layers, like A is 220, A is 440, A is 110, A is 55. We can look at the layer in your brain and see, is this genetic? Is this trauma? Is this emotional? Is this neurophysical? We can see where it's coming from, and if we find the right level, then you can be exposed to the sound for a little bit, and then you'll get a residual effect. So you can go do your normal stuff. But if we don't find the right level in your voice, the effect will go away pretty quickly. You've heard of the new ideas of string theory. Kaku is one that writes about this a lot, and he says that we're made of these infinitesimally small little strings. But he says we don't have the slightest idea how to make a nerve or a nose or a freckle or anything else. We just know that this is what happens. We have found a way to reconstruct the DNA by using the frequencies of the RNA, what controls DNA, in the body. And we can reconstruct muscles and look at people's nutrition and open receptors. A lot of the times, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but let's say you need L-DOPA. If we give you L-DOPA, it's used for a little bit, but it's not regulated, and then the receptors get clogged, and then no matter how much you give them, there is no way to get that into the system, except with sound. And when the receptors are clogged, then there is a cholesterol issue. We know that the body has the ability to self-diagnose through the voice and to reorganize according to that information. We know that when you get hurt, the first thing that comes to the cell, the signal goes out and says, I'm hurt, I need some help. It sends out for calcium, and calcium comes and looks at the situation and orders everything it needs. You can watch it happen under a microscope. You can watch the lattice work come in and heal the cut. There is no cure for Parkinson's that I know of. Some people try to do it with their mind and be very calm, and that drops dopamine in, and that's good. Some people try to do it with medication. Some people with exercise. Whatever works for you, but it doesn't work permanently because conventional medicine doesn't have a cure. You heard Dr. Sharry talk about the reversal of diseases thought to be incurable. We have a lot of the information. We scoured the literature on what causes Parkinson's, and we put it together, and we have a lot of the answers that conventional medicine doesn't even have. Because we got to the bottom line here, and we know that this is about cell signaling. The pathways get interfered with. Either the nerve sheathing is not doing what it ought to do, the signals are getting sent to the wrong space, or they're not being sent at all, there's too many signals, GABA, L-dopamine, tryptophan, B6, B3, NADPH, whatever is going on. The conventional medicine folks really don't have a way to look at this in depth. We do. We can see, is this a nutritional imbalance? Is this an inflammation? What is really going on? And we can show you a picture of it. We can even show you the genetics of your DNA. And one of the biggies is mercury. And Dr. Mark Hyman, I put this up here for you so that you can see how glutathione is included in this. And you're looking at Parkinson's disease, the effects of mercury. This is a great article. You go on the internet. I think I have this for you here. I do not. I got other stuff in the way and can't look at it right this second. So just write in his name, Dr. Mark Hyman, H-Y-M-A-N, and How to Rid Your Body of Heavy Metals, a 3-way detoxification plan. Great stuff to help get rid of some of the interference. Notice here thiamine and B6, which is what Dr. Sharry said that his body had a problem with. There was mercury poisoning, and it depletes the glutathione. So we detox the mercury and start feeding you vitamin C and thiamine and pyridoxine by your food, by supplements, or by sound. And that'll help with the toxicity part of all of this. One of the other reasons to have Parkinson's is your cholesterol pathway, what we're really calling a mathway because it's numeric based, becomes faulted. For instance, how your body makes bile salts. It starts with cysteine, an amino acid, serine, an amino acid, coenzyme A, a biochemical, and taurine, another amino acid. And from there, it's the first steps in making bile salts, which helps assist the body in using and controlling its cholesterol. There is one type of Parkinson's that starts with a fault on cysteine. And I will bet you when we run this down, we're going to find out that it's cholesterol related. Let's follow one of these down, just one of them. Let's follow serine and see what happens with it. Okay, serine helps make NADH. I don't think I have ever done a vocal print for any Parkinson's person that didn't have NADH in stress. That's nicotinic adenosine diphosphate anhydride. It's made in the liver. It's an enzyme, and it's required for cell signaling. Serine is required for cell signaling. So we begin to look at all of these biochemicals of what's happening. You'll see here that it not only helps make cysteine, but helps make tryptophan. Now, tryptophan requires B6 and B3, tyrosine, and then it goes into the cascade of L-DOPA, dopamine, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So serine is very much needed by Parkinson's folks because it helps and is a precursor to the tryptophan. It helps the use of fatty acids. It helps the body make muscle tissue. It's a non-essential amino acid. You don't have to get it from your food, but getting it through your food, particularly grains, is great. It helps with signassine, which is about blood pressure. It helps with myelin sheathing. All of this is important to Parkinson's. Just one thing we're tracing down. And here's the food sources of it: eggs, seaweed, seeds, Parmesan cheese, dry milk, chicken. You know the common in there for chicken. Wheat contains probably the most prominent serine that each of us know about, and that's why sometimes people with cell signaling diseases will begin to crave breads. All of this is just one little mathway that this computer program will trace down. There's really a ton of information that we have traced down. These are the mathways toward regulation of cell signaling, and you can see it comes in to be faulted in many different directions. Well, we just figure out where the fault is from the computer program because we figured out all of these frequencies by math, and then we can help put it all back together. This drives us back to this article that we were looking at, the GMO article, and I put up for download for you. This is about cell research that was done by a team, Robert Anderson of the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research in Parkesville, Australia. So what they found was that the cloned, or engineered really, wheat put out by a large conglomerate that I'm probably not allowed to name, took out proline and took out glutathione out of the seeds in trying to make it impervious to Roundup. Well, in doing that, they caused a problem with the body's ability to use the gluten in the wheat. And it's been proven now that these particular forms, and only these three forms that are engineered forms, are causing the reactions that are causing celiac disease, which is a highly toxic reaction in the gut to gluten. But not only is it causing celiac disease, it is contributing to distortions of the body's ability to use proline for muscle strength and glutamine for cell signaling. It is causing the excitatory neurotransmitters to just go absolutely haywire because the body needs glutamine as glutamine decarboxylase to make the nerves do what they ought to do. It also kicks in two genes, GAD and GAD2. This is associated with blood sugar problems, also GAD2. And you'll see that often with Parkinson's, there'll be an inability to stabilize blood sugar. But more than that, GAD stabilizes GABA, gamma-albutyric acid, and GABA is a precursor for dopamine. one of them. And as we look at it, this is what all of this GAD metabolism faults are causing: Parkinson's, celiac disease, Crohn's, irritable bowel, lupus, fibromyalgia, histidine reactions, that's immune system, cancers, use of calcitonin, which is cancer in the leg, brain signaling, schizophrenia, deterioration, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, many of them that we have seen here that have this relationship to GAD. So one of the first things we do is put people on a 3-day no wheat diet to see if we the body to get these GABA receptors back up and running again. Another issue is that the same is also aspartame. When a cell is hurt, it sends out a signal. And if it sends out a signal for calcium, it in turn says, okay, I need some glutamic acid, some glutamate. And that signal by frequency is sent out. And along comes aspartame that is the same frequency, and aspartame binds with the cell. You're in trouble now because the signals aren't getting where they ought to go. Another problem with this signaling is MSG, monosodium glutamate. So that would be something, if you've got a nerve issue, that you really want to look for. And for those of you who are bioacoustic practitioners on here, we have all of these frequencies in your big database. So being able to look at this and then combine this with big pharma and big agricultural people are trying to allow these foods out into your food supply, and they don't want them labeled. You know, this is atrocious because you can see how it's going to affect the muscle issues of people. These GMO foods must be labeled, in this case for celiac disease, autism, any kind of muscle deterioration, nerve deterioration, neuroexcitatory disease. It has to happen. We cannot allow this S510 food bill to allow these foods out and not say they are GMO related. One of the things we have started is putting on it the opposite. This is not a GMO food. If they won't put a sign on their food that says this is GMO, we're going to put a sign on our food that says this is not GMO food. It is so important. And maybe it's not important to the world, but it's important to us that have these kinds of tremors and ideas of what ought to happen to us. We ought to be able to get the care we need. We ought to be able to help at least identify our food supply. In my case, one of my first symptoms was I couldn't smell. And when I did my computer program, zinc came up with a really significant issue. Now, zinc is also instrumental in making insulin, and I had an insulin issue. So there is the relationship between the blood sugar and Parkinson's. It's zinc, the body's inability to process the zinc. We went to the National Institute of Health and showed them what we had, and they didn't know where to put us. So they sort of put us into a category of integrative or functional medicine, and Dr. Mark Hyman that I just showed you, he is a functional medicine doctor. So any therapy which has some high quality scientific evidence of safety and efficacy, and you can see by the film that we have the evidence. And this is a lot of information to take in, and sometimes people don't care how we did it. They just want to know that we have the answers and what we can do with this. I probably should define Parkinson's, degenerative of the central nervous system. Boy, that GAD stuff and glutathione and gluten all fit right into there. And we've already shown you 3 or 4 times that we can stop the tremors. Now, we can't stop the tremors over the phone. We can do 100% if you come here or go to a practitioner. We can probably do a 60% job if we're going to be trying to do this over the phone or online. Now, we know some of you can't travel, and we'll try to see if we can get somebody to come to you. But how serious are you? What do you really want? So we start by training people. And you can train as a caretaker just to work on yourself, or you can start setting up a practice. And we're trying to work with the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation, some of the retraining programs, to have them pay for this. So if you're interested, let us know. This is what the textbook looks like, and you will learn to do the frequency domain, which is what Nikki's going to do with you in a few minutes, and then how to monitor yourself using the time domain NanoVoice that's available for you for free at nanovoice.org. They won't even ask your name. They won't ask anything. But that's one of the things that you use to monitor your voice and what's going on. So these are the things that Nikki is going to go over with you. We have 3 programs: Parkinson's, spasticity, and dystonia. We'll probably just use Parkinson's this evening. We don't have a lot of time to go through all of it. But all of you who are not of the Parkinson's guest group, spasticity and dystonia are just 2 other symptoms of Parkinson's, and they're also symptoms of other kinds of diseases. So she's going to show you how to download the software and how to use the software, how to create your files, how to install and verify your microphone. So Nikki's going to take over from here. What we want to do is introduce you to the Parkinson's program, either get you guys to have appointments here, gather some data, get an article out, show what we can do. Nikki, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, you're on. Do you want me to keep this PowerPoint going, or you just, what would you like?
I'm just going to share my desktop.
Okay.
I think now we're still looking at yours. You need to hand me presentership.
Okay, I want to show the microphones first. Can people say, oh, I have a microphone on my computer. Can I use that? Well, if you don't want a very accurate, here's the article. If you don't want a very accurate reading on your voice, then go ahead and do that. So I need to hand you back host. Make presenter. Oh, I have to go to yours and make presenter. Okay, you are the presenter now. This is the article you can download. Go to File and just save. And Nikki asked me to, and I'll be running this part now, if you want to ask a question, you'll need to raise your hand. Just down at the bottom of the participants list, there's a little thing that says raise hand. We only have 4 microphones. So if you want to raise your hand and you don't have a mic, we'll have to shift things around for you. You can also write us messages down in the chat down at the bottom. Thank you, Richard, for putting that up. nanovoice.org. Okay, do you have control back, Nikki?
I do.
Okay.
I am going to share with you my desktop, and we are going to talk about Audacity. Audacity is not one of our programs here at Sound Health. It's a free download online. And to find Audacity, you just need to Google search it. You can go to the address, of course.
AUDAC, Nikki.
Yeah, I always spell that wrong. It's the first one that pops up. And you can see the address there is audacity.sourceforge.net. So you just click on the download section there, and we want you to download the Windows version 1.2.6. So you just go ahead and follow those links, and when it's downloaded on your system, you will see this icon here. This is the Audacity program. You just double click on this program, and then you have some settings to take care of before you can get started. This is what it looks like when you open it up, and you need to go then to Edit and Preferences, and in the Quality tab, you'll need to change the default sample rate to 32,000, and you just do that by clicking that down arrow, and 32,000 is not going to show up, so you just click on Other, and then type it in manually in the next box. And then default sample format format is 16-bit, so 16, 32, 24, and 32 is what you'll see, and you just need to switch that to 16. There's only one more adjustment you need to make in this box, and that's to make sure you're on the correct microphone. This one says the Samson microphone, but I'm going to change it to the Logitech, and that's either going to say Logitech or USB. It may say AK7543, some numbers after it. So those are the adjustments you need to make within the preferences. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the project rate. That needs to be 32,002. So just click on that. 32,000 doesn't show up. Just hit Other and then manually type it in. And then your Audacity program is ready to go. Now I'm going to show you what a vocal print should look like when you're taking it. And I'll try to give you some examples of a bad vocal print. The program is really simple to use. After you make those adjustments, you don't have to ever do that again. They stick. They're saved. So to start recording, you just hit that red button, and we can see right now this is a really good vocal print. If your client begins to whisper, then that's too low of a volume. I can't make it there. I can't talk soft enough. Okay. That is too low right there in that area. And then if your client is right up on the mic and it gets all truncated like that, and you have no spaces, you see how it stops here? That is too loud. So we see that this is too loud, this is too low, and this section here is a good looking vocal print. We like this program because you can edit it. Say we want to cut a portion of it out, we right-click with our mouse, gray the area that we don't like, hit these little scissors, and it chops it right off there for us. Maybe. Sometimes. Oh, you know what? I made a classic mistake. I paused instead of stopping. I have to stop it in order to be able to edit it. So it chopped out that kind of lower area for us. We've asked you to create 3 files on your desktop, a GNS file, a WAVES file, and we have a client file. If you don't know how to do that, you just right-click on an empty portion of your desktop, go to New and Folder. It creates that folder right there on your desktop, and then you can name it what you want. So again, right-click on an empty portion, New, and Folder, and that creates those folders. Those are important now because when we take a vocal print, we are going to save it in our WAVES folder. What we just created with the Audacity program is a WAV file. So I'm going to hit New here, start over, and I think Robert was going to give us a vocal print. Robert D. He is here. He does not have a mic, so I'm going to pass him a mic. And can you hear me, Robert? Do you need to hold your control key in order to be able to talk to us, Robert?
Hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Okay, Robert, I'm going to need you to talk to me for 30 seconds, and I'm going to have you talk about the issue you want us to look at today. You can follow the seconds along with us here on the screen by this 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see that? All right, so we need 30 seconds. We can go a little bit over, and you go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me okay? I'm going to go ahead and start talking. Yeah, so you hit the record button. All right. My name is Robert. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 5 years ago when I was 30. I'm currently taking L-Dopa, which does pretty decent with the symptoms. I mean, I get a couple good hours out of the day. I'm taking 2 other medications. I work full-time, and I'm a research scientist in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm actually developing an application to measure tremor in Parkinson's patients, so we can have a more objective tremor measurement, because when you go to the doctor now, the neurologist just says that your tremor is fast or your tremor is slow. And I'm trying to create a way that it's easy for patients to take regular measurements. Like, for example, with is that good enough?
Oh, that's good. I just didn't stop you because it was such an interesting story. I wanted to hear more about it. Let's check this wave file, and if we need to take another one, you have to. Can I have him finish that story anyway?
You want me to finish it now?
Let's wait and see if we have time at the end of the hour. But that, I'm sure everybody's interested. That was really good stuff. But of course, if they don't understand how to do this, that they're going to be more frustrated than if they didn't hear the end of your story. But it was good. Okay, so I think we have a pretty good print here. The volume could have been adjusted a little bit, but of course we're doing this print not in the conventional way. We want him here in our offices for the best outcome. So when we do it here over the computer, it's not as good as if they were in the office anyway. So I didn't stop him. I'm just trying to show you the processes right now. So we've created this WAV file on our desktop, and we now want to save Robert's print. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to export it as a WAV. In order for the next program to be able to read and understand this vocal print, it has to be in a WAV form. So we have to export as a WAV. And then we're just going to go to our desktop, and we're going to find that WAVs folder, and that's where we're going to place Robert's file. And I'm just going to name it in a way that I'm going to remember it, and I'm going to hit Save. Now we're going to move on to the next program. It's called the Abacus program, and this is one of our programs. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Accept. Now I want to pull Robert's file into the Abacus program. So I go to File, Import WAV File. I find that WAVs folder on my desktop, and I double-click it, and it imports it in there perfectly for me. We are looking at Robert's vocal print. Isn't that amazing? I just think that's amazing. We're looking at his voice. Now, a few things about the program before we show you how to pull points. This dark gray area in the center here is called the area of coherence. And this is where we want to see the majority of his vocal print. Like this area here is good because it's mainly in that dark gray area, so it's in good shape. We are concerned when it goes above that dark gray area because that means it's high or stressed in the system. And we also don't like this stuff that's below that dark gray area because it's low or weak in the system. So when we're looking at the abacus, we're only looking at things we're concerned about. There's no need to take data within the dark gray area because that stuff is in the good. It's working like it's supposed to, doing what it's supposed to. So we disregard that gray area and we concentrate on these things that are high and low. Now, if you have the Abacus program and you downloaded it, you might say, I don't have that dark gray area, Nikki. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'm going to show you how to fix that. We have the Client tab over here on the left, and here's the Parameters tab. And here we see the Tint 2-block area. Just put a check in there, and it's going to tint that gray area, that dark gray area for you. The Show Grid Sections tab, this identifies the predictive, 0 to 64 or 100. There's some debate about that. the now 100 to 500 section, which is the green, and long term, which is 500 to 1,000. These are the three sections you're looking at within his vocal print. So we would right now determine that most of his voice is out of balance within the now section. He's got some business going on here in the predictive, but he's got a little bit more over here in the now section. Predictive indicates what could happen with your system if there's no intervention and what will happen within the next 30 days. So it's amazing if you, in the now section, say you have a cold, and then you see some serious business going on in the predictive section, and it could be indicating that that cold could turn into pneumonia if you didn't take the proper measures. And I'm not saying you have to have frequency to do that. I mean, you know, cold medicine, rest, fluids, all those sort of things can help, but the predictive area just indicates to us what could happen if we don't take some action with what's going on now. So we're going to go back to the Client tab, and what we're going to do is have the computer pull the points for us, and you're going to see that it's only going to pull the ones that are high or low, because we're only interested in what's out of balance. So the computer grabbed the points that it felt were significant, and some of them don't seem too significant to me. We can see that the dark gray area, is the area that we think that's in good shape, indicates it's in good shape, and we can see that this low here is right there next to that dark gray area, and look at this high. That's great big up there. That's a trauma spike. That can be indicative of pain, something not being utilized like it should, a tight muscle, and that just seems to be calling out to us more than this, which is so close to that dark gray area. So we're going to right click on that point that's so close, and we're going to hit delete. We can see that it's going to take it right out of there for us. It took it off the grid, and it took it out of this vocal print data. You'll notice these 24 numbers coincide with the red dots over here. So this is around 19.298, and if we go over here within our vocal print data, it's probably this 20. You can't get exactly on it over here, but you can find really close. So this frequency is this point, and it's the note of E. And it is in -3, which indicates that it's high. It's pretty high up there. That's its power. So we can go along and look at each one of these notes and see what the frequency for it is, what note it is, and where it's located on the vocal print data. So we like this guy that was up here by himself that we thought might indicate some trouble. So we're going to right-click on our mouse. We're going to pull out the area that that high guy's living in, and we're going to see him right there, sticking up there bigger than big. And we're going to right-click and hit Insert. And you can see you put the red dot on the gray grid, and it also put it over here in the vocal print data. So we could go through his on and on through his chart, getting rid of points that we thought might not be so significant, and putting them in places that look like they would give us a little bit more information. You can pull all 24 points manually if you'd like, or you can just use what the computer gave you and pull ones that you think look significant. Or, yeah, what the computer gave you and work from that. One of our very best practitioners didn't touch the Abacus program. She just used the points the Abacus gave her, and she went from there. So you'll notice here in the vocal print data that the 3 points that I added myself, added manually, are not in there. So we just have to go back and enter that directionality. Those all 3 were high points, so we're just going to indicate that with an H there. And this was Robert. and I forget how to, I don't know how to, Robert, I'm a bad speller, bad. So instead of butchering it, I'd rather have you spell it for me.
It's D-E-L-A-N-O.
Okay. And your date of birth, sir?
5675. Female. Just kidding.
I was like, oh my gosh, I think I called you a him. All right. Okay, so I have to have all that information in order to save this file. If I don't have it, if I try to save it, it'll say, right, enter this information, and you'll have to. Did I show you guys full size? I hope. I'm going to go back. When you expand on a chart, and I'm showing you this specifically because when I first did this, I got stuck on the screen and you know, it's kind of embarrassing to say, yeah, I don't know how to get out of this. So I just figured it out on my own. It took me a couple days. When I talked about zooming in on a point, remember we're left clicking on the mouse and dragging over the area we find interesting, and you can see where it's zoomed in. Now, how do we get back to full size? And maybe it's just that I'm a little on the busy side, or maybe everyone has this problem. But I couldn't figure out how to get back to the whole graph. It's this full size button right here. If you click full size, then again you can see the whole graph. I just don't want you guys to get stuck there. And I also have to lecture you on how to save this file because it makes people crazy. Instinct would tell you, if you're a computer user, that you would go up to save, or you would go to file and you know, save. But that is wrong. That is wrong. That is bad. You will regret that because it will not save it. It'll be lost in the abacus abyss. And you'll be frustrated, and you'll call me, and then you'll remember what I told you, and you'll say, oh, yeah, forgot that. We are going to save this with the Rubik's Cube down here under the vocal print data. We're going to save Rubik's Cube 7 times. Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube. That's how we save our files. We have just created a GNS file. These 24 numbers or points that we pulled is a GNS file. Remember in Audacity, we created a WAV file. And in Abacus, we create a GNS file. And these 24 numbers are going to tell us what the issues that are prevalent in this chart are. So we created a GNS file. And we saved it with the Rubik's Cube. Now, it's going to try to get us to save it in the Waves folder, but we made a folder especially for GNS files, and it's our GNS folder. So we just double click on that, and we have our file name here, and we just hit save. And then let's go back and double check that it's in our GNS file. And there it sits, looking pretty. Okay, that is amazing what we just did, you guys. If you followed me and you're like, I can do that, you're right on the ball. Now, we want to open up the Parkinson's program and look at all these programs we have. Woohoo! That's a lot, huh? We're going for Parkinson's. So we're going to open up this program, and we're simply going to click Accept. Now, we're going to take our GNS file and import it into our Parkinson's program. So we go to File, Open Client, back to our desktop, find our GNS folder, and double-click on Robert. And look, it imported all his information. Isn't that interesting? Saves us a lot of time, doesn't it? And here's those 24 numbers that we pulled from the chart. And it imported those in along with their directionality right there for us. Now, down here at the bottom, it indicates what kind of reports we're going to get. We're going to get activators, amino acids, biochemicals, chemicals, hormones, herbs, genomes. We're going to get all these things. We have the power. We now have the power to decide what we want to look at and what we don't. If we're not interested in herbs, then we just uncheck that box and we will not get a report for those things. If we don't care about toxins, we're going to check that box and we won't get a report on toxins. So that's just kind of to narrow down what we're looking for. Did somebody have a question? Remember, if you guys have questions, you go ahead and raise your hand and I'll make sure and get you a microphone. The WebEx program only comes with 7 mics and they're distributed to the people that enter the meeting first. So if you don't have a microphone beside your name, that's why you, well, you do have a little set of headphones, but you see the mic underneath? That indicates those people have a microphone. So if you have a question and you don't have that little mic underneath your headphones, raise your hand and I'll get you. I can't believe nobody has questions. Either I'm a super duper wonderful teacher or you're the smartest group of people ever. We'll say it's the second.
We think you're super duper, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you.
They were talking about that on chat while you were doing it.
Oh, okay. All right. There's a few more things I want to show you about the program. First, I want to show you the cocktail search. And this is really good to use if somebody comes to you with specific, I try to avoid this word because I can't say it, specific things they want to look for. And say we just want to look for tremors and any information within this database that's related to tremors. So we just type tremors in there and we hit go. And we, did I spell it wrong?
T-R-E-M-O-R.
T-E-R?
No, T-R-E-M. Or shaking, or I don't know how they have it in there.
I don't either, but I'm not finding anything you would think.
T-R-E-M.
I tried that. Nothing.
It's really weird.
Well?
Nothing's coming up at all?
No.
Let's run his stuff first and get some words from there.
Okay. All right. So when we're looking at the data list of 24 numbers that we pulled, we're just going to go ahead and hit report, and it's going to give us a report for each category that we have checked. Okay, this page confuses so many people. They are like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Okay, there are 12 notes, and we pulled 24 numbers. Each frequency is within a musical note. Each note has a range of frequency. So if we pull the frequency within the note of C, this chart tells us that we did. It says we pulled one note of C. We pulled one note of C sharp. We pulled 4 notes of D. So when we look at 24 numbers and divided by 12 notes, a 2 or a 1 doesn't indicate that much of an issue. Now remember, we pulled things that were out of balance, things that were high or low. So every one of these notes is a problem. But what's the biggest problem? What note is most out of whack, out of harmony? What part of his song can't sing like it should? So we want to look at anything that's above a 3 or, a 3 or higher. So we can look and we see that he's got a problem with the note of D, and this is the emotional side here on the left of the note of D, and this is the physical side of the note of D. So we see that he could be having some issues with digestion, his pancreas, his gallbladder. Oh my gosh. And then we have the note of A, which is a 5. And look what the physical side is. We're building physical body, eyes, electrical problems, and physical degeneration. That's pretty darn interesting, isn't it? I'm interested. I think it's amazing. And here is the emotional side of that note of A. So note of A is where, you know, is a good place to start, that note of A. And we can go back then to the Abacus program and find those notes of A. And we can see whether they're high or low, what they look like. There's one. So we can go back and look at the chart again that way. So that is what the note correlate chart tells us. How many of each note did we pull? And we look, his F seems to be in really good shape. We didn't pull anything, so we would assume that all of the note of F was in that dark gray area and within the coherence grid. Okay, so we just...
Looks like he's got some detoxification he needs to do.
Yes. So the first report we're looking at is protein. This gives us the name of the protein, its directionality, whether it was high or low. And remember, if it was above the gray grid, it was high or stressed in the system. Below that gray grid was a low in the system. So the protein, its directionality, and how it relates to Parkinson's disease.
Nikki, can I say something?
Oh, you say it all. Go ahead.
When we're looking at the adenine, mutations may cause Parkinson's. It's high. We just need to get that under control. We don't want it high. We want it balanced. The second one that's high is amyloid plaque, so we need to really go after that one because it's already high. Same thing with the glial cells. We just need to balance that up. And for the ubiquitin, where it already says it's low, again, just balance. So there's 19 ways to give somebody a different formulas, and you just need expertise. If somebody has a gene for longevity very high, leave it alone. Or if they have a toxin very low, you know, leave it alone.
Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yes.
So this is the chemical page, the name of the chemical, where it is in the system, and what it does. These reports contain a lot of information, and to attack it all at once is probably way overwhelming for people. So sometimes it's easier to take little bits of it and work on that, and that will help the rest of it. I know the hardest thing for people is there's so much. Well, we heard about serine, so we could just concentrate on serine, or look at the vitamin B6, so we could just concentrate on that. So we know that vitamin B6 is high in the system. It's a water-soluble vitamin, so we're not concerned about any toxicity there because he's just going to get rid of it if he doesn't use it. And it may facilitate the production of dopamine.
It also means he's not using it very well if it shows up high, or it could be that it is the frequency the same as something else. But remember, in terms of Parkinson's, that B6 is a precursor to tryptophan. Then you add B3 to it, and that's where you get that whole dopamine, L-dopa cascade comes from there.
We would need to ask him if he takes it supplementally and when the last time he did was.
Yes, perfect, because he may be taking too much of it, so we need to check that out. You're right.
Did you want to answer now?
Yes, sir.
Actually, I started taking medication last year, and I actually haven't taken a vitamin until lunch today, which is kind of weird. I bought vitamins last week, and so I resisted the medication for a long time, and then I figured I'd go ahead and do it, and so today I took a multivitamin at noon.
And what time zone are you on?
Eastern. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. So his noon is our noon. I thought, well, if he was in California, noon wasn't. Yeah, it shouldn't. If it's D6, it should. It shouldn't be showing up as high at this point.
Well, we could look at other things, because there's the green sheet that we're going to show you later will tell us whether or not it's really what form of B6. And we have other programs that can verify that. That's one of the problems. Right now we're just doing evaluation, and then you do formulation, which is figure out the formulas, and you do presentation. So when we're just doing this part, the evaluation, we're doing 1/3 of what we could do. So we always go back and verify what we're doing.
So here's the mineral report. Aluminum?
We don't really care if aluminum is low.
Yeah, we want it low, don't we?
Yeah, we could skip that one.
Here's medications.
And sometimes these medications are the same frequency as something else. And it may not be the medication at all. So we figure out the meds and we look at it, and then we see what it could be. Like progesterone is the same frequency as marijuana. But if progesterone's low, then we're going to look at other things in that progesterone pathway. And if it really is marijuana, it's going to show up as a toxin rather than a biochemical.
Don't you think it's funny when people come in and we know those things and they get all freaked out?
We don't tell them, do we?
If they're the right kind of client, I'll say,
I remember
they're the right kind of client, I'll tease them a little bit.
I remember that guy that came in and he wanted Viagra, and his wife was behind him where he couldn't see her, and she's shaking her head, no, and waving her arms, no, no. It's funny sometimes.
Oh, did you read Robert's chat? He said he doesn't inhale much. He's friends with Bill, isn't he? Okay. So if you were a client and you came in and you told us what medication you were taking, we would find the frequency for that medication, and then we could look at it in your chart, and if it showed up outside of that dark gray area as really high or really low, then we could say, you know, you should have your doctor check on this and see if it's effective, if he needs to reevaluate your dosage, or why isn't the medication working? What makes the medication work, and is there something we can find that's going to promote that medication and get it to do what it's supposed to do?
We can look at activators, and the activator for a lot of the Parkinson's medications is thiamine, B1.
So we could look at that too. Here's hormones, DHEA. And would you assume that as DHEA isn't being utilized?
Either taken too much, which might not be a bad thing since it reduces the symptoms. I would see how high is high, and if it was way up there, then I would try to balance it.
Okay. Here's genomes. Now, we're going to look at the ones that are high, because mutations in these genes could cause Parkinson's. We wouldn't be concerned with the low ones there, would we?
Well, the one that's a promising therapy, look, he has it high and low at the same time. So that probably really isn't the glial cell. It's probably a muscle. When you have something that's high and low at the same time, it's probably a muscle that has the same frequency.
And that could kind of be a problem with Parkinson's too, couldn't it? Because it's so involved with the muscles.
Yes, and the other way around too. We can see what muscle went first, and we can usually start a good pathway that way to see how this developed. Was it nerves? Was it cholesterol? Was it L-DOPA? Was it zinc? You know, whatever it was, there'll be a relationship to a muscle. Like the zinc muscle is the thenar, that pad on the thumb. So when you begin not to be able to unscrew lids very well, then we know zinc is involved. And like that, because of the redundancy of what the body tells us.
And we can also look and show the sono cards so they can find that information too. Yeah, that's not secrets. That's public information, isn't it?
Well, I thought of something today and discussed it with a couple of people. We should do sono cards for Parkinson's, sono cards for the sex factors, sono cards for arthritis. You know, right now they're just nutrients with minerals and muscles and vitamins on them. They're kind of general. But we should make specific packages.
That's a good idea.
I think it would help people monitor themselves. And that's what we want, people to be able to do it on their own once we get them started.
Everyone is chatting me saying that's a wonderful idea. I think it's a wonderful idea too, and I can't wait to get started on it. And you practitioners out there that have ideas about it and have maybe done some research, then you send it to me and help me out a little bit.
Yes, we're all snowed under here, literally 10 inches of snow and too much work.
But I'm ready to get started on those. I think that is going to help a lot. A bio-diet sono cards. I'm excited. Yes. Okay. Coenzyme Q10 is low, and that may prevent circular damage with Parkinson's.
And you can buy that on the shelf.
Or you can adjust your diet.
Yes. Where do you get CoQ10 in your diet? I don't know. And then octacosanol, that is a helper for one of the B vitamins, and I can't remember which one. So it looks like he's got some B's unbalanced here that we need to go in and look at.
Okay, that was the last page.
B's become unbalanced with cysteine, and cysteine requires B12, and then B12 is required for the others. So the basis of that for him is probably cysteine that we need to go look at.
Okay, I want to run him through nutrition. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm looking for our class folder that we just had to update our computer here in the classroom, and none of us are used to it yet, so it's kind of, but we're not going to have any more of those problems of getting booted off and the slow and the,
I think it's in the middle of the right-hand side.
Okay.
I think it says new class items.
I don't see it. Maybe it's in a new folder. It's just not, okay, there it is. So we wanted to look at the sono cards, and we also wanted to look at the pastel folder. Okay. Let me first check the sono card thing. And we saw, what note was the, what note did we see in that? Was it A?
A sharp and D. A sharp with a 5 and D with a 4.
Okay. A sharp I want to look at first. So we pull up the sono cards and we can see everything that's associated or is within the frequency range of A sharp. So it's threonine, and that is a precursor to GABA and has everything to do with all that tryptophan and all that business.
And GABA is a precursor to dopamine.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Also, threonine helps with the use of cholesterol in the bowel and absorption, which could be the issue with the bees because they get absorbed in the bowel.
Yes.
We're
Okay.
trying to give you some tools to do this on your own with NanoVoice, but if you come to a clinician, they won't use Sona cards with you. This is just for you guys to use.
This just gives you an idea and makes you look a little bit like a genius.
Well, look, there's catalase, too, as an enzyme, and catalase just cleans the trash up out of the blood, and his A sharp said he just needs to physically regenerate. So catalase being stressed would be a problem. Catalase naturally is that juicy, bubbly stuff from a fresh apple. Now, not from a Fuji, because they've taken it out, but something like a Honey Crisp, something like that. Good catalase there. Blood cleaner.
I'm answering chat questions at the same time. I'm sorry. I think it makes you look like a genius because look, melatonin is a problem within the note of A sharp, and somebody may not tell you that they have a problem sleeping. But if A sharp is the most out of stress, they might have a problem sleeping, and if you ask them, they're going to be like, how did you know that? And you can pretend that you're just a genius. I just knew that. I could sense it about you.
We do it in a set of cards so that people can sort of use them back and forth and show somebody else how to use them at the same time. And I have something else that was really important. There is an instruction sheet that she's going to get to. Somebody's asked, how do we do this in a summarized way? There's an instruction sheet called the pastel folder. This is say, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. This is all designed to be self-done, self-instructed, so you don't have to come to us. Only if you find a problem do you need to come to us. And it'll point you in the direction of what the issues are. We know from Robert he has issues with his B vitamins, probably some issue with cysteine, and has some amyloid plaque that we really need to look at. But Nikki will show you a pastel folder because I don't have one.
Okay, I'm going to show that. I'll do that right now. But this is one way you can go when you're just doing these simple reports. We could show Robert this A sharp and say, are these some of the areas you're having a problem with? And look, B6 is there too. It just gives us so much information.
Or you can look at which card has the muscle on it that they reported as an issue. Now, somebody says, okay, it's my ankle, and then you're going to look at, I think the A is ankle. So you'd look on the A for the corresponding nutrients and amino acids and all that go with the muscle that they're having the most trouble with. And somebody's asking, what's being left and right brain to mean? It's just a formulation. You can do it by, I like this color and I don't like that one. So right-brained people usually take different formulas from left-brained people. Right-brained people usually have more processing issues than left-brained people who have structural issues. It's just the way to look at it. Okay, I'll shut up, Nikki.
No, that was a question. I certainly wanted you to answer that one. I certainly wanted you to answer that one. Okay, so when we do, did you make the pastel folder a download?
No, I didn't. I didn't know how many people were going to be on. I didn't want to put anything in there that would keep anybody off. Oh, we could download the textbook and the pastel folder to people. Well, most of the people in the Guardian already have that anyway.
Okay.
So they just need to write to us and say that they'd like the instructions to make all this work. And we call it a pastel folder because we put a little pastel folder together and say, okay, now, here's your chart. Look here. Do this. This means that. That means this. We want you to be able to teach it to somebody else. We want you to be able to do it on your own. But this is the public version of what we do. It is not the lab or the real version of how we use these numbers.
Okay. So when we do a report, we also give them or send them this pastel folder. And it tells them how to look at their report. So they see what the report is and whether it's high or low. And it separates, gives an example, and it tells you right here what high or low indicates. So you can give them this, and they can look over it, and they may get a better understanding. It depends on what kind of learner they are. This may just be the ticket for people to get it and understand it. And Sono cards can be purchased through Sound Health. I think you can purchase those through our website or just call here to the office and ask for Jen. She's the one that takes orders. And I believe for a small set, they're $22 for a small set.
I don't remember, but not through the website. The website has been bombed. It's irretrievable. The new one's going up, so just give Jen a call. And we'll put the phone number up at the end.
Okay. So this green sheet is another one of our little cheat sheets for people. And when we're doing a report and we see that somebody's cysteine is high or low, then we would go to our green sheet, our nutritional assimilation chart, and we would see that vitamins B6, 12, folate, selenium, and vitamin E help make cysteine. Vital to make taurine, so if their cysteine is messed up, we can go check their taurine and see how it's looking. And these are all the things that have a relationship to cysteine. And we have amino acids here, we have vitamins here.
Look at his threonine. Look at his threonine. It's right at the bottom.
Precursor glycine.
And amino acids. Didn't he have threonine and stress in A?
Well, it was an A sharp. We didn't find threonine, but it could be. We haven't run his nutrition report yet.
Oh, okay.
Let's do that, and then we'll compare it with the green sheet. But what if the guardians don't have a nutrition program? Then they're going to be mad at me for showing it to them and making them want it.
Well, they can go back and pick it up if they want. They just need to talk to Kylie. She keeps copies of all of these classes.
So the note correlate chart is going to be the same. Oh, and that was A. It wasn't A sharp.
Oh, I'm bad. Sorry.
Uh-oh. So we're looking at the cell salt, calcium sulfate, and we see that it's high. Remember, high means it's not usable. One of its sister components, one of the things it needs to work correctly may not be working. You could have taken too much of it supplementally or eaten too much of something that contained it. Or there could be free radicals and toxins in your system that are pretending to be one of its buddies or sister components, and it's going there, and then they're kidnapping it, not letting it do its job. So if we want to compare this to the green sheet, we go to the amino acids. What's the first one? No, we're looking at cell salts, aren't we? So we go to the calcium phosphate, and we see that it's good for nutrition and digestion assimilation. Has restorative features for post-disease infected bodies. That doesn't tell us what makes it work, but it tells us what it does.
You want to go back and look at minerals.
Okay, let's do that.
We'll just go through this. We'll run into it.
There's the B6. So for the layman who doesn't know what B6 does, who didn't have to take a nutrition class and make a B6 wheel and torture themselves with it, and we'll look at the B vitamins. So vitamin C, magnesium, sodium, potassium, zinc. So we're going to look for all these things showing up in his chart to see if one of those isn't working correctly. And we might find the connection right there. So that green sheet is, sorry.
And he has nicotinic acid low too, B3, and that's one of the things needed for the translation of tryptophan into that dopamine cascade.
There's vitamin E. Let's see what works with vitamin E. Zinc, vitamin C, the B vitamins. So it could be that that vitamin E and the Bs are battling. We need to get them to stop fighting with one another and play nice. And here's all the things that vitamin E does. So we want to look at minerals. Magnesium is low. Does that surprise you?
Several times.
Calcium, B vitamins, E vitamins.
There's those B's again. One of the B's that is intimately involved with muscles and muscle signaling is called etiocobalamin. It's a form of B12, particularly for use for the muscles, and it's made in the gut with mendendiol disulfate. And when you don't have that and you don't make the etiocobalamin, then you get the spasticity and the stiff muscles. Roche owns that patent, and they won't get up off of it. So nobody can even put it in their vitamins. It's a note of C, by the way. He had, what, 1C, I think?
1C.
It's very close to zinc, and zinc showed up in several of his cascades.
Enzymes.
Amylase is low, and this is the same frequency as the parathyroid hormone that controls calcium used for energy. So there's definitely a carbohydrate issue here. Glycine and glutamic acid, they work with wheat allergies, they work with that GAD. I'm hearing myself twice here. Nikki, did we lose you?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just hear an echo of everything that's going on.
That is not good. You didn't hear it before, did you?
No, somebody's mic's open. I can't see anybody who has it open.
No, I didn't see anybody either. So this nutritional assimilation chart can be used with Parkinson's too, because it does have the vitamin and mineral categories on it.
Nikki, there's, oh, that just moved down. I thought I found another mic open, but I didn't.
Okay.
And Robert is saying he has blood sugar issues. Are you still on with him? Because it may be his speaker.
He's muted. He's muted.
Okay, he wants to know what foods contain CoQ10. Do you want to show him the dictionary?
Sure. Did I close the program? And we have to leave enough time to hear the end of the story. But, I mean, as a summary for how the guardians are going to use this information, when you do a vocal print for someone, you're going to give them these reports. You're going to print them out for them, and you're going to give them this green sheet. And, I mean, if you're really good, you're going to go the extra mile, and you're going to do a little bit of research, you know. Go to Google and look things up. Wikipedia works really well. HyperHealth is an online encyclopedia for health, and you can also go there and get them some information. They're going to say, what do I do with this report? Well, this doesn't do me any good, but if you can see that their steering is low, and we've learned that that's one of the direct things that works with Parkinson's, then you can direct them towards foods or supplements that contain that serine, and they can make changes in their diet and supplementation. It's really difficult to know how far somebody can go with just these reports unless we talk to you about James Marshall.
That's a good idea. You want me to talk about that?
You go ahead and talk about that, and I'm going to find the online dictionary.
James Marshall is an actor. He played in A Few Good Men, Gladiators. I can't think of the other things he played in, but he heard me one night on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, and he had taken something called Accutane, and it dissolved his large intestine. After 2 years in the hospital, they sent him home and said, go die, we can't help you anymore. So he called me and said, can you help? And I said, I don't know, we've never worked with this, let's try. So he didn't have any money for a tone box or anything. So I gave him the frequencies, he'd off-tuned his guitar, put this acoustic guitar next to him and strummed the frequencies. We also could tell him what foods he could eat, what foods he couldn't eat, what nutrients he needed. And now he's getting better. He's going back to work. He's writing scores for music. And he has written a couple of songs for us for pathogens, particularly something to get rid of the swine flu. It's called La Ciel, and the other one is called Signs of Life. So if you're interested in either of those, and they get rid of sinus infections and that kind of thing. I wish I'd have had one this morning. I tell everybody else to have one, and I don't have one. That's horrible. But we talk to people about singing. If they have a muscle issue, we can guide them toward a massage therapist or a Reiki healer. We can just give them an overview, a master view of the body and what's going on and what direction to go. And if you find something real serious, they need to come to us if they want to support their optimal form and function. You looking for where CoQ10 comes from?
Yes.
Boy, how all of a sudden did we get this strange echo?
I think it might be your speakers.
No,
I hate it when that happens, don't you?
It's just way too weird. It started happening and I hadn't touched anything. But I have a little bit more review that I need to go over, Nikki.
Okay, all right, I'll stop. I just want to show quickly, Wikipedia gave us some sources for coenzyme Q10, and and then HyperHealth too. could give us some sources. But if you have reviews, you better do it. I'm not gonna. And we want to hear about how we measure tremors too, if there's time.
I think hyperhealth is really important.
Okay.
Do you want to put that one back up?
Oh, I closed it out. Let's see if we have time after you go through.
Okay, I just want to do a quick review. Okay, we've been talking about the Parkinson's program. Hey, and the echo went off. That's wonderful. And what it is designed to do, it's designed to be used by the public. This is the version that you will get. The professional version has all the frequencies in it so that you can provide frequencies back to people. In reviewing, this evening we used Audacity and Abacus. If we had time, we were going to also use spasticity and dystonia and maybe inflammation if we found it in someone's chart. Nikki told you which of these areas of the chart we'd look in. In Robert's case, we looked in predictive and in the first part of the now to see what was going on. She showed you how to pull points, how to get a list of frequencies, how to go ahead and look for the correlate chart, the numbers, anything 4 or better. She showed you how to look at the reports and how to put those together. In this case, germanium too high, germanium's there, not usable, taurine too high, L-DOPA low, and so forth. You can buy L-DOPA by prescription medications, but you can also get the pure stuff with frequency. So everything here is expressed in terms of frequency equivalent. We can't say your L-DOPA is low. We have to say your frequency equivalent of L-DOPA is low, and then we can provide that frequency equivalent to you. She also showed you how to look up a vitamin and look at the green sheet. This is what I wanted to get to. Tryptophan is really important when dealing with Parkinson's because it's a precursor to dopamine and all of the epinephrines. And so this is a chart, and you can pay, I think it's about $500 to have this chart done at a doctor's office, and I'll give you the address for that. But we can also see here from your vocal print when we run a program called methylation that nitric oxide synthase and nitric oxide, which deals with cell respiration, is a big issue here. And this tryptophan was an issue, and those are both precursors here to this whole cascade of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Also, dimethylglycine and trimethylglycine aren't being used very well, and it's in a little blue box. It means it's genetic. Now, you can go to heartfixer.com. Go to the Comprehensive Heart Care, Dr. Roberts Medical Practice, and look under methylcyclic genomics, and they can do a comprehensive evaluation for you. This is a special price for $495. Or you can have it done online, and we can do it in about a half hour. This one takes about 6 weeks to do. Ours is a bit more accurate because we can see things that begin to get low before it shows up in the lab. We can do this again and again and again, almost with any lab test. She showed you how to use this pastel folder that provides instructions step by step on teaching your people to look at their reports. I would suggest you start out with Parkinson's, okay, and B6 is a problem. Let's see what helps with B6, and then tackle the next problem, the next problem, the next problem. The highest highs and the lowest lows are where you want to go if you want to help ameliorate this. We use Walsh & Walsh Nutrition. It's easy to read. It's easy to look things up in, and that's what our computer programs have been databased from when it talks about nutrition. We're doing this because we know that whoever controls health controls our quality of life. And I do hope Obamacare is repealed next week. If it is not, I feel sorry for all of us. And we will continue to go on with bioacoustics and even a bigger push because it's going to be needed more and more at that point. We're going to have Dr. Jerry Tennant on our radio show, and he says the whole issue of being healthy or not is about how the electrical potential in the body moves. And that's one of the things that we look for. He is saying with Obamacare, his hospital's already given him information and said that he won't get to choose, that it'll be a standard of care, and it really doesn't matter. I want to read this one into the record. One of my patients was hospitalized with a heart attack. The nurse brought in medication. He asked what one of the pills was. He was told it was to lower his blood pressure. He told the nurse his blood pressure was already 90/60, that's very low, and that if they lowered it anymore, he'd pass out. She said, doesn't matter. All patients who enter the hospital with a heart attack must take blood pressure medication. Now, medicine by the book, that everybody is in the middle of the road, and he's an aberration, heart attack with low blood pressure, it's not going to work. And it's not going to work to be calling up IRS agents and saying, how do I deal with my patient? He has said that doctors are not going to get to make the decisions. A client comes in, they punch, or a patient, they punch it in the computer, and it comes back and says, well, you can do this and this and this with this patient. Restricted care, rationed care, it's crazy. We have to have an alternative. And I believe that bioacoustics provides a holistic opportunity to this through some of our programs. Nutritional consultant, muscles, post-traumatic stress disorder, the swine flu, we gave that one away. Biodiet, one of my favorite, shows all of your receptors out. We also do a marketing class. Pre-vaccination risk factors we've already done. We believe in the body green, that the body can do its own thing, and we want to do that through the guardians of the people. Take your vocal print and look at it. We want to encourage everybody here to become a member of the Guardians. Go to guardiansofthepeople.com. Sign up if you agree with what we're doing, read our mission statement, and join us every month for these one-of-a-kind workshops, 2-hour workshops. And if you want to take this into your practice, by all means take the course or send an assistant to take the professional course and have this become part of your optimal form and function for your clients. We promised you some contact information. Blog Talk Radio, Sunday at noon, Eastern Standard Time. Today we talked about sex factors and the biochemicals of sex. Sound health options. Find a lot of stuff there, but wait a couple of days till we get the new one up. And for those of you who want to watch other profiles, mostly, well, a lot of them doctors, and things that we've done with MS and stroke victims and that kind of thing, YouTube under Sound Health. Phone number to order your Aura or your Sonocar at 740-6989-119. Nanovoice.org is where you download some of the software. Nutrisounds, free classes. We also do happy hour associated with Nutrisounds. Happy hour is Tuesday evenings from 6 to 8, and we do it every other week. And this week we're going to concentrate on people who have Parkinson's. We'll do your stuff right on the air as best we can. And there's my address for you to write to me. There's happy hour. And just some of our other...
And happy hour is way less formal.
Some of our other... Yes, absolutely. Less formal.
We're allowed to goof at happy hour and tell chicken jokes.
Yes, okay. Nikki's great at happy hour. So she's got HyperHealth back here up, and if you order HyperHealth, it's online. I think it's $59 for the year. Actually, it lasts for more than a year. And tell them we sent you, because we get a little kickback there. We get some free copies. You buy 10 and we get 1 free copy for our office. So she put in CoQ10, where to find it. You can also put in Parkinson's and everything about that. So HyperHealth is a great thing. Nikki, it's something you have open, because I didn't hear this when you walked off.
Yeah, I opened it.
No, I mean the echo. I didn't hear it for a long time. Now it's back. Now it's gone again.
It's my speakers then. But when I turn my mic off, you don't hear it.
Nope. As Robert is telling the rest of his story, I'll go through some of our new computer programs that we just did this year. So does Robert want to tell the rest of the story? want to tell the rest of the story?
Well, our time is up, but he chatted that anyone who wanted to hear the rest of the story could get a hold of him.
Okay. These are just some of our new programs that we did this year. More's coming. We should run Parkinson's people through neurodegeneration. So thank you for being here. I think we timed that pretty good. We'll hear the rest of Robert's story. Oh, neurodegenerator. What is that? We've had fun. Nikki makes this class fun, right? Oh, okay. We certainly appreciate you being with us.
He thought you were calling him a nerd.
No, I didn't.
I'm turning my mic off so you don't echo.
Okay. Nikki, can we give me back control so they can download this GMO article? Okay, I'm now presenter. So go to your file and do transfer, and the article is there for you. If not, I will have Kylie add it to what she is going to download tomorrow, the pastel folder, the text, and the GMO article. We should also download how to make PDF files because we didn't get to cover that, and that's how to bind this file and send it to people on the internet as you're doing their file. This will be recorded, has been recorded, and will be available on a limited basis for review. Sandy Evans has her hand up. Pass her a mic. Okay, Sandy, you're on. Unmute your mic. Sandy, you're on. I can't hear you. Do you need to hold down your control?
Okay, this is Sandy. Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
Okay, I was just going to say, I don't know if everybody else is having the same problem. I cannot transfer that file down. It always says requesting under status. So it may be everybody's having that same thing. I've had this happen before, but sometimes I have no problem.
Okay, go to share and see if you can just pull it down that way. While I have it up, you should be able to go to file and just say print or save as. So try that.
Okay, so let's say.
It just depends on your computer.
Okay. You know, sometimes I have no problem. Yes, it seems to be doing while you've got it up, so that's great. That did it. Thanks.
Okay. Remind you that this is a public portion of something that we do. If you are in the professional class, it is very, very different. Suzanne's daughter, I want to say thanks for today's interesting and awesome information. You are welcome. Hey, who put this up? Anita, where can you find ideocobalamin? That's absolutely incredible. Does it mean that it's for sale, Anita? Let me see if I can get you a mic. I am passing you a mic. Okay, Anita, you have a mic. Is this a for sale ideocobalamin or just information about it? I don't have you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. I can get it in Canada, but I'm not sure what brand it's under. I know I got some from my mom. So let me see if I can find out, and I'll send you an email when I can find out.
Awesome. Thank you. There are so many wonderful, knowledgeable people on this. And I think if we share, we can just move along quickly. There's enough sick people to go around.
If you eat, it comes out of the dirt that's on the fruits and vegetables that you eat. It's processed by enzymes, so it's if you eat like an apple, or if you eat if you don't wash it, it's in that dirt.
It also comes from calf feces, from cud chewing animals.
Okay.
The Indians used to make buffalo chip tea for their kids in the winter to have vitamin B12. But we also need to look at mindediol disulfate and other things. I am surprised that it's on the market. I just think with the GMOs that they're taking all the good stuff out of the wheat, and they're taking nutrients and out of our bread, and it's just, we're not getting wholesome food anymore. When I went to Australia, I was in shock at how wholesome the food tasted, how much better eggs tasted because they were wholesome chickens, you know, and the meat tasted different. We're just getting like plastic food. So we're hoping this is going to be a resource for people. Sandy still has her hand up. You want to say something else?
Well, I thought of it when you said that. My daughter and her family were in Europe for 3 weeks this summer, in Italy and London, and they went to Paris. You know, they were traveling through France. She quite frequently has stomach pains and she's got several things going on. But while she was there, she had none. And when I was telling her about the GMO wheat problems and the thiamine that they were taking out, and she looked really funny. She said, "That's so funny because I didn't have any stomach problems like that when I was in Europe." And I don't think that they used it there, the GMO foods.
Some parts of Europe have banned GMOs from being grown. They still import it and eat it, but they banned it from being grown.
Okay,
This is just our way of fighting back. And if you
can find a little Italian store, some of them will import the Barilla, B-A-R-I-L-L-A pasta, and it's made with wheat from Europe, and you won't react to that.
That sounds good.
We also use Sir Galahad wheat, which is old world wheat, and we have less reactions with that for people. But for Parkinson's people or anybody with any kind of cell signaling disease, we have them get off wheat and then slowly try to add it back. But once you make those antibodies, it's really hard. One of the things that we recommend is something called reduced glutathione. Let me see if I can find it here on the internet. I'll go back to share, because most of you should have that down by now. And I'll share against. What do you see on the online now? Pure encapsulation glutathione, reduced glutathione. Can you see it?
Yes, you can't hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Sandy. This is what disturbs, is disturbed by these GMOs. And it's Monsanto doing it. They have the patent, in case you hadn't guessed already. This has been great. Next Guardian meeting, we're going to do the sex factors and talk about all the biochemistries of sex and reproduction and desire and partnering and all that stuff. So we hope to see you then.
I found it.
I'm not mature enough to handle the sex factors. I might have to sit that one out.
Yes, mother of 4. What did you find, Anita?
The etiocobalamin. It's made by Sigma Aldrich.
Wow.
I'll send you the link.
Absolutely, and we will put. I see it on the chat.
It's also called dicyanocobinamide.
Yeah, it's a form of B12. but it's great for muscles.
Okay.
Good stuff, people. Please join us next week. And just a little tip, Ambien that some of you are taking for sleep is the same frequency as dopamine. And get in touch if you're interested in taking the professional class. Nikki, I cannot sign out. I don't have control.
Does it make sense that
Goodbye, everybody.
dopamine is the same?
Yes, because it's a sleeping pill. But we're able to match medications with the person. So that's a good match.
I think of dopamine as more of a stimulant than a sleep aid.
Dopamine? Wow, puts me to sleep. Well, I guess it would depend on the circumstances, because that's why people get high when they're in love, all that dopamine.
Oh, yeah. That.
I hear you, Richard.
That's happy hour talk, mister. That's happy hour talk.
Pardon me. That's right. Sorry. I slipped.
Okay, it's been good. Nikki, you were great. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.